So for those that aren't familiar with the airline industry, there's traditionally two business models out there, point-to-point and hub-and-spoke. Point-to-point is typically the low-cost carrier model. They fly one type of aircraft, and that can go and come from any destination. So Dallas to Austin, then it can go to Oklahoma, and then Nashville. Hub-and-spoke is typically what the legacy carriers like United operate. So some of our hubs, we have 7 across the United States. Denver, Chicago, some of our biggest ones. So we operate a huge hub out of there and have a huge operation. We own hangars, we have lots of aircraft maintenance and things there. And so these planes are going from that hub to that spoke. So it is going, I flew on a connection from Denver. So Denver to Austin, that plane is just going back and forth all day. So that is a different business model and why this local approach to the Super Bowl really works for us. So how did we come to being in the Super Bowl? Typically, United hasn't. This is the second year that we have been part of the Super Bowl, and spending $7 million in one day is a little hard to sell in. So we had to take a local approach. It started with an insight. What do most viewers of the Super Bowl have in common? Their team is not playing, right? So this is where this creative idea came in. Believing changes everything. So we did have a national lens with PR and organic social, but local really was the focus. Through local broadcast, as I'm going to get into a little bit more, but also YouTube and social as well. YouTube mastheads were taking over during those days in those local markets, and also first impression takeovers on social. So these were the markets. This is how it was set up. So we ran in 9 different markets. And how did we choose and come to these markets? So I mentioned that hub and spoke model. So some of these might be a hub, they might be a spoke. We operate really well in these markets. We're not going to choose a market like Atlanta, where some of our competitors dominate. We just don't have a great product there. If you live in Atlanta, you are not going to be flying United. So it doesn't make sense for us to have that national spill as well in a market like that. Cost as well. Local broadcast costs for a Super Bowl spot vary on a large scale in these markets. We are an NFL sponsor of a lot of teams, and so we already have the IP and the rights to use their logo and likeness, and also these teams were willing to share it on their social channels as well, because we're speaking directly to their fan base as well. Baltimore was also in here. If you followed the playoffs at all last year, they had a good shot of making the Super Bowl as well. But that's another spoke for us, and it was really relevant to that market as well. It's no wonder that the Super Bowl did really well last year, the top rated broadcast again. If you've invested in local broadcasts before, you know that those stations are so happy when you're investing with them. We are investing with them on a regular basis, not just in the Super Bowl. So when we're building those relationships, constantly investing with our partners there, they're also going to give us back that premium positioning. So you can see across the game where a lot of these local spots ran leading into the halftime show, where we know that is where most viewers, people are sometimes just coming for the halftime show. A lot of our spots ran there, and then as the game was even heating up towards the third quarter. And so it did work. The strategy really paid off in brand consideration. So driving that media stories, 90+ stories, 7x more than we did the year before in both local and national. And the positive online sentiment was incredible. And so some of my favorites here, you can see the social sentiment, was that Coach Taylor talking to me, a Browns fan? And then one that even summarizes this summit so much, targeting and creative, that was a great job, United. And we drove a ton of traffic to our website, and it performed so much better than our benchmarks. 2 times more efficient than anything that we've seen before. Bounce rates were so much better. Online mentions as well. Airlines typically don't play in the space of the Super Bowl. There is another airline that does have a similar local approach, but we dominated the conversation in terms of airlines in the Super Bowl. Our goal was awareness, but we also delivered in bookings. So this is always a great story to tell to your finance teams. So overall, we saw an 8% increase in sales year over year for the 2 weeks after the Super Bowl. Again, that was not our goal. In these local markets that we ran in as well, saw a significant increase in bookings as well, all the way up to even 9% in some markets. And since we're in Texas, I'll close with our Houston Texans spot.
Houston, I know you're watching other people's teams play today, but today is all they get. Tomorrow is yours. The pieces are all there. Next season, you put them together and win it all. Texans fans, this is about believing. Believing so hard that you book your flight to next year's big game before the season even starts. Because believing that hard can change everything.
Thanks.
That was awesome, Athena. Anyone have a question? Ooh, okay.
I thought that was great. Mike Corey, Audience Express. Hi, everybody. Will you be doing it again this year?
We're looking at creative concepts for that local play, yeah.
Is that your question?
That was my question, but it's Jawan from Atmosphere. Wow.
Thanks, Joanne.
That's all.
Oh, okay. And, oh.
Athena, that was great. Michael Hollis, Simul Media. Will you be expanding markets and going into more markets? Because I saw you missed EWR, and that kind of hurt my heart.
Yes, definitely looking at more markets, hopefully, getting more budget from finance so we can afford more of those.
There was someone else over here. Oh. Ryan hidden in the corner.
I don't think I need to introduce myself. Curious, because, Ryan Spicer from Atmosphere. Curious, Athena, again, fantastic.
The Patriots fan.
Yes. Any flights from the Boston area would be great. The insight that you said, the believe insight, right? That translates to other places. Have you thought about exploring where this idea of believing can extend either in other places of sports? Like, obviously, it can kind of translate very easily into other sports areas or even outside of sports. Very curious how it might have opened you guys to think about different areas where this insight of belief could tie back in and have a similar powerful effect.
Definitely. It's definitely exciting for us, and the Super Bowl is definitely a platform where we have that creative flexibility. Typically, as a brand, as United, we always are highlighting our employees in our content, so it's definitely something new for us to lean into an insight like this and have a celebrity talent do that. So definitely hoping for more in the future.
Getting in my steps
You,
here.
you go there. I'm going to go back here, Lisa, because there was a hand back here, wasn't there? Oh, that wasn't. Okay.
Hi, Alex Camp from Good Apple. So you're doing it again. What is the biggest thing you're going to do different this year? Like, do you guys have like one thing that stood out that you've learned from that you want to pivot on?
I mean, from a media perspective, this was super successful. We spent, less than 20% of what, a national ad costs in terms of a media investment. So this has proven success. Working with our PR team has been a huge success, both locally and nationally. So we're hoping to expand that to more markets, more of those hub cities. That might be a little bit more of a price tag, but it's working, is what we've seen. I would say the learning that we had wasn't, it's kind of where creative and media come together. There was some network clearance stuff that happened in the background with Super Bowl and, creative agencies learning there. So we definitely learned a lot there, and we'll have an easier time next time.
Right here.
How you doing? Nelson Ferreira at MyCode. I know you bought local broadcasts. Were you also buying their streaming extensions in those markets, or is it just over the air?
Yes, we purchased their streaming extensions as well.
Someone back there, John.
More questions. This is like a record.
I love it.
It's a record.
Thomas Atkins with MGM Resorts. For the message, if you guys are going to do it again, is it something where you want to keep leaning into the no change fees, or are you looking at different points of brand differentiation?
I'd say no change fees is definitely something we are leaning into. I don't know if that will be the one for the Super Bowl, but maybe March Madness, you will see that next year.
Anyone else? All right. Well, Athena, that was awesome. Thank you so much.
Got it?